Well, my guest today on Pitch Perfect is Liz Tobin, and Liz is one of Australia's most respected corporate mental health and wellbeing speakers, facilitators, executive coaches, and meditation teachers. With over 20 years of experience, she has helped thousands of professionals break free from stress, overcome burnout, and build lasting resilience. Her approach blends evidence-based research, practical application, and the transformative power of mindfulness and meditation, helping individuals set clear intentions, stay present, and take meaningful action. Liz collaborates with Australia's leading organisations, including not for profits, professional services, and government agencies, to create healthier, high performing workplaces. By combining real world insights with actionable strategies, she equips teams with the tools to reduce stress. Always want to know some tips in that area, restore energy, and foster a culture of well-being. If your people are feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or stuck in survival mode, Liz will help them reset, recharge, and reclaim control so they can thrive both professionally and personally. Welcome, Liz Tobin.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's a really lovely introduction.
Yeah, I know.
I
It's a
think, is that
fabulous introduction.
me? Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for being on here today. So, I guess first of all, I'd love to know, how did you get into this particular area
Yes.
in what you specialize in?
Yes, so I really specialise in workplace mental health, wellbeing, stress, burnout, and overwhelm. And my background originally is as an occupational therapist who worked a lot in OC rehab. And after I had kids, that was no longer a really good match. But I really still loved observing people's journeys where they were trying to work out how to better manage in workplaces, in life, and those two are really interconnected. And I moved into working and consulting with Beyond Blue in their workplace mental health and wellbeing space, and started collecting, I suppose, more knowledge, more insights, and continued to be really curious about how our relationship with stress, because it's part of all of our lives, we all have stress, it's absolutely inevitable, but how we respond to that and how we have strategies to manage that really has a very significant impact on our overall well-being, so that when things happen, we know how to respond. And then as time went on, I became really curious about meditation. Initially, first because I was kind of doing workshops and telling everyone, oh, and meditate and go for walks, and thinking, oh, I feel like a bit of an imposter here. I need to do some professional development. And I kind of just went straight down into that rabbit hole of going, wow, what started out as learning kind of objective for me ended up being quite pivotal. I'm quite a busy person, a busy mind. And meditation just brought this whole new, oh, this calm and this ease. And I noticed straight away my own reactions, whether it was at home or work, were less sharp, if that makes sense. They were still there. I was still annoyed that something might be happening, or I was still frustrated that I'd locked my keys in the car or that I'd forgotten my laptop, but it didn't sort of hijack me in the same way. So that kind of led a whole new sequence of learning and conversations for me. And I'm still on that, trying to integrate that into my own life and also into the one-on-one coaching I do and the workplaces and teams that I work with. Because what I found was, what sounds quite mystical, it's really, really, really simple. And that was the first meditation session I did for transcendental meditation. I walked away going, is that it? Is that all? Like everyone had made out that this is really, you go in and you commit. And I'm like, this is pretty simple. The tricky part is doing that, like any strategy, whether it's the meditation or the walk every day or watching comedy rather than online doom scrolling. It's the actual doing, which is the challenge for all of us in our busy lives. And so that's kind of my entry point in a lot of conversations I'm having with people who are feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, anxious, all those
Yeah,
things.
I've got so many questions about this. As someone like me who has tried meditation in the past,
Yes.
um, what would you say? Whenever I sit down and do meditation, my mind just keeps ticking over and I get so frustrated and then I just can't relax. Does that sort of go away with regular meditation and doing it at frequent intervals? How do you kind of really get into that unwind state?
It's yes and no. And we've kind of been sold a myth about meditation that we are meant to sit in Zen. I was laughing with a colleague today that I would never sit with my legs crossed on a rock on a beach and meditate because it's just really, really uncomfortable, right? That we've been sold this myth that we have to kind of clear our mind and clear our thoughts. But really, what we need to do is just sit in stillness and in quietness. And if our mind is busy and we're thinking about the salmon we have to pick up and the places we need to go, that's actually okay. You're still sitting in stillness for that time. You're sort of just pausing and allowing that really busy minds that we have, which are absolutely overloaded, just almost like to work like a filing cabinet and move through it. And definitely, the more we meditate, the more we become at ease with that sort of bubbling mind. And we sort of describe it as having a restful meditation or an unrestful meditation, and neither one or the other is better. The meditation itself is just a tiny part of resetting that sympathetic nervous system, telling the brain it's actually okay to slow down. And the more often we do it, the brain starts to go, yeah, this is my time to carve through everything, move through everything. I personally find my morning meditations are busy because my mind is busy. I've got 3 teenagers. I've got to get the dog out. I've got to get everything done. And that's okay, but still having that time where we're not acting or responding and almost just witnessing our own thoughts is the key to it. It's about just sitting with it and just showing up, not being really hard on ourselves. And I can really relate to what you're saying because that was me 20 years ago. I remember doing yoga and thinking, oh my God, it's so slow. Why is everyone so
Yes.
slow
I
here?
hate
I
yoga. I hate
cannot do
yoga for
yoga.
that reason. Yeah.
I love yoga now, but it took me a long time. They're like, come on, we're in this posture, move on to the next one. I'm the person, Jamie, that when my kids were little, I would set a timer to see how fast I could unpack the dishwasher. Just see how quick I could do it. What's the next thing? Go, go, go. And so kind of letting go of that really outcome focused part of our personalities that we have been rewarded for at work and at home and in leisure. It's like people high five the more we do, is part of the process of just leaning into going, wow, imagine if I just prioritize myself to sit for 5 minutes every day without judging it and without commenting to myself, I'm good, I'm bad, I can't do this, I'm hopeless, I'm not that guru. And then we start to see these really lovely, subtle little shifts because our brain loves it. Our brain will thank us for it. It'll go, oh, gosh, she's thinking about the email, but she's actually not writing the email. Phew, this is good. So we're kind of paring back our actions a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. And so, is this something which you sort of think anyone can do, or entrepreneurs, females,
Oh,
males, really the target audience?
absolutely. And I really started diving into teaching meditation in lockdown, which was perfect timing because everyone had a lot of time. They were so bored. I'm based in Melbourne, so I had like this captive audience of all my friends and all my family. And I've got lots of nieces and nephews. And I'm like, come on, just let me be my guinea pigs. And I was actually really surprised by the range of people and confidently say now that anyone can meditate. The key is turning up and doing it. Like anyone can go to the gym, anyone can walk around the block, but this is even easier. And I've got like from, 8-year-olds and primary school children to, accountants who are type A who don't have any interest in any of it except for the black and white of just slowing down, and lots of small business people who have that constant, there's never an end point for them to kind of clock off, unfortunately, which I'm one of them. And this starts to build in for them permission for ease and a bit of grace and kindness to ourselves with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say to someone? I feel like I'm the best person to do this interview because I'm throwing challenging questions at you.
Yes, I love it. Bring it on.
I mean, it sounds like I'm now where you were 20 years ago in that
Yes,
frame of mind. But what do you say to someone like me? And there's many people like me who thrive on adrenaline. Next thing, next thing,
yes.
next thing. Okay, what's my next? And setting the timer and just challenging yourself. And people always say, oh, you get so much done. It's because I'm on adrenaline. Is that kind of a recipe for burnout?
Absolutely, because what you're doing,
I
like
knew that was the answer.
it is, it really is. But what's happening is your sympathetic nervous system is fully charged all the time. Your cortisol is charged all the time, and that's fine. And it's really type A, and we see amazing things produced by this type of personality and these behaviors. The problem is we have an infinite amount. We're not designed to be in fight and flight. It's meant to be about a 60 to 90-minute process in our body where we go hard because the lion's chasing us, or we quickly grab our child because they're in danger. So when our body is in that type of response 24/7, our immune system is really compromised because everything has gone to the production of get ready and go, go, go. And our minds become really wide. So then something really small will often bring someone unstuck. And they'll go, but I've been able to put in this proposal and I just presented to, a room of 500 people, but today I got a flat tire and I burst into tears. It's
Yeah.
because if you think of it like your glass and it's just getting fuller and fuller and there's no elbow room.
Yeah.
So the key with integrating something like meditation or any mindfulness strategy, it creates a bit of a buffer in that glass jar where a little bit of elbow room, so that when you do get that flat tire, or I was laughing at your post the other week, Jamie, of your child vomiting in the car. And I thought, oh God, when those things go wrong, you have your karma, your barometer's lower. It's not always fully charged. And
Yeah.
the other thing we see with people with the burnout is the anxiety kicks in because there's often a lot of negative thoughts. There's poor sleep that kicks in because the cortisol is not low enough to enable them to sleep well because the brain is too busy. And often, getting the colds, the flus, getting run down, and often that they'll have the cold not for a week but for 3 weeks. So it is an absolute recipe for burnout, and we see this cycle and we reward people right up to that moment, and then when burnout kicks we all go, oh, why aren't they doing it? We're very harsh as a society. We're like, but that's the person who always does it. So we all need to have this shift of just not coming right down to being zen, but just coming down a few degrees so there's wiggle room for us day to
Yeah.
day. So we kind of laugh a bit more at ourselves and we show up for the people we love, not feeling exhausted, but, able to engage and feeling a bit joyful at the end of the day rather than, kind of dribbling half asleep on the couch at night, which
Yeah.
I've done as well. Everything I talk about, I've done the opposite too. So we're all a work in progress with this.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think myself and many other entrepreneurs who do work at that really high paced sort of
Mm,
level, the minute you go on holidays, that's when you get sick. The minute you
yes.
stop, because you kind of just,
Day two,
it catches
bang.
up with you. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're a professional speaker, and I should also mention you're one of my fabulous PR club members.
Yes.
On your speaker bio, you've got many topics that you can entertain and speak to audiences on. One of the topics is overcoming burnout, and I'd love to ask you, how can we set boundaries to not
Mm,
only overcome burnout, but also in the first instance, just to reduce that overwhelm that many of us feel?
overwhelm. Yeah. I think boundaries is the key for reducing burnout. Those two are kind of like the opposite ends of the continuum. And when people sit down at the beginning of their business and then each quarter, I work in school terms and a lot of colleagues that I work with do, but every year or when you do your planning, setting really clear boundaries. And within that, I always say to people, look at a day or a half day that is clearly a non-negotiable. It's not your wiggle room to get things done that you haven't got to get done. It is brunch, it is with a friend, it's a massage, it is a not negotiable, whether that's every week or every fortnight, but having that locked in your yearly calendar. The other thing to have locked in is a mentor or a buddy or an accountability person where you can actually dip in and out with them really regularly to say, I just am going to do this even though I shouldn't. I know I'm going to do this. As solopreneur, I'm a solopreneur, and by myself, I put a lot of pressure on myself. If I say I'm going to do something, I think it needs to happen yesterday, and it probably isn't going to be read till next week. I'll send a tender. And so by actually talking with peers constantly, because it's so dynamic, our boundaries, and our boundaries really need to be set by us, but then we need to maintain them. This example, if I open a bag of chips and say no one can have them in the office, but then I go, oh, but Bill forgot his lunch and he's really hungry. Bang, there goes my boundary.
Yeah.
So we need to hold our boundaries. And if we find that we can't, that's when you need to kind of dig down. I'd say to people, speak with a coach or a mentor to really map it out. Another way of having good boundaries is having time in every single day rather than going back to back, having 45-minute meetings instead of an hour. Like they're really simple things that are inconsequential but it creates just this time for you to keep having a bit of a walk, having a cup of tea, getting lunch, those things that are kind of ongoing day to day. They're actually going to set you up not to spill over with that adrenaline when it does kick in. That way, when those instances come where the adrenaline's got a kick, you've got enough of it and you're ready to go, and it actually feels really fantastic and rewarding. How positive adrenaline and positive stress should feel in our body. We should feel really kind of elevated by it. But if you're not feeling like that, and people are listening thinking that's not me anymore, that's also a really red flag that you've probably moved down that continuum where you're on the wrong side of things. Your boundaries are a little bit out. Your self-care is out of kilter, and you need to sort of take pause and bring it back. And the easiest and best way I often think to do that is with the support of other people, particularly if you work by yourself. It is so hard to have that conversation in your head because our brain's got a negative bias. So it's already telling you haven't done enough and you're not good enough, and you jump on LinkedIn and social media and it goes, absolutely, you're not.
Yeah.
So having some real life conversations and some really lovely people in your corner, I think, is key to stop
Yeah.
those boundaries really blurring.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because when you talk about boundaries, it almost always refers to external boundaries that people are asking you to do and you're
Yes.
saying no. But I think about my sort of my adrenaline and my life cram is my own pressures I put on myself.
Absolutely.
So even yesterday I had 13 meetings. I'd squeezed in a business club lunch, which I squeezed in 90 minutes in the middle of it all. And then I jumped on a train to Sydney and had a corporate event in Sydney. And then I had a breakfast in Sydney. And I just literally crammed so much into my life. How do you cope with being able to say no when it's only those like boundaries that are crumbling from your own fault? No one else is putting that
Yes.
pressure on me except for myself. So what do you do then?
I think it's learning how to respond better to things. So it's not about saying no because we can't afford to say no because it's work and it's
Mm,
opportunities. It's about resetting, saying, have you got flexibility on this timeline? Because I've already got 13 meetings on this day. I am free next week. We need to get better at doing that. And we are hesitant to do that because we think, oh my God, then I won't get the work and I won't get it done. And it feels really good to do the work. That's the thing. It feels great. And in that moment, we are getting an adrenaline kick because they've asked us to do it and we can do it. But kind of pausing. And I think this email can be really great where you say to someone, can you just email me what the date is and let me know if there's flexibility around this. And what that does is buys us mental time. So we
mm,
can then on the train coming home, look at the diary, look at it and go, does it have to happen tomorrow or can it happen in a few weeks' time? I had a conversation with, again, a colleague today and we both laughed. I said, I'll send this through to you next week. She goes, I'll make it after Easter. I'm like, beauty, this is not urgent. But if we hadn't had that conversation, we probably both would have gone away thinking, we need to do this today. So just checking in, whoever you're doing the work with, what's your time frame? And this is what suits me. Just because we say what suits me doesn't mean we're not going to get the work. We can flip
mm.
back and forth and go, look, this is my preference. But if you don't have any flexibility, I can do it another time. So
Yeah,
I
love
think that
that.
integrating that into every conversation so that you map it out. I think entrepreneurs, we run a real risk of having work really busy at one point of the year and then there's nothing. And we look at
Mm.
the work and go, that work could have happened any time. It didn't have to happen next week or this month or so being a bit mindful and taking pause around it.
Yeah, I love that. If people want to work with you and get in touch with you, how can they find you, Liz?
I'm on LinkedIn, so a DM on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be more present on LinkedIn. Thank you,
Love it.
Jamie. And I'm on Instagram quite regularly because I'm scrolling and joining the brain rot of everyone else. And otherwise, on my website, that is Calm at Work, they can contact me through them. So any of those three portals, and I'm kind of active on any of those things most days. And yeah, always happy to chat and respond to any curiosities that people have.
Yeah, fabulous. And of course, if you want Liz as a speaker at an upcoming event or conference or in your workplace to run a session, you can go to her website, Calm at Work, and we will put the link to that in the show notes. Liz, thank you so much once again for coming
Thank
on to Pitch
you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone who tuned in to listen. It's a real privilege.